Hi, Sant.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for agreeing to do this with us.
Oh, it's an absolutely important topic. I think we've been all silent for decades on this subject. I'm glad that you're bringing it out in the open and having a public conversation on this absolutely
Thank you.
critical and social topic.
So, I would like to introduce you briefly to our guests and then we'll start the discussion. Is that okay?
Sure.
So, there is only so much that I can introduce you by. So, despite having known you for how many? 35 years?
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, 35 plus right now.
And
It's actually
I had to
36 years. Yeah.
So I had to take this chance to ask you what your hobbies were. That
Okay.
says volumes about me, and I'm ashamed of it. So anyway, our guest for today is Mr. B. Santhanam, Chairman and Managing Director of Saint-Gobain India. Santhanam has been with the same company for over 40 years, something that's very unusual. He has very little free time, but whatever he does, he utilizes it in exercising and taking part in marathons and in reading. He's a voracious reader. He likes to and works hard to influence public policy and action. And with this brief introduction, I move on to actually listening to him on this topic. I am looking forward, San, to see how you can influence public policy and action in this heart-wrenching field.
Yeah.
So, I would like to begin the discussion by getting to know you a little more. So, what do you think has been your biggest achievement till date?
It's, Ramya, it's a huge challenge to individualize an achievement. I think I've been blessed, given the background that I've had, educational background, and the great team of colleagues and family. I think it's not fair to say there is any single achievement. I've moved starting from management trainee to being the chairman of this iconic group. I think this has happened largely because of a fantastic team, colleagues, family support, and the social support that I've received. So I would not think that a lot of that has been accomplished by me on my own individual capacity. It's really huge team effort and family support.
So, let me try to get to know you better in a different way. If I were to ask you to describe yourself in just 3 words, what would those words be?
Curiosity, I think that would be at the heart of many things that I do. And I think the other word that is used is innovation. I really try to look at new ways of doing things, influencing and having an impact on people who work with me. These are 3 things. So curiosity, innovation, and influence and impact.
And have you always been like this? Looking back to your school years or college years, have you always been this way?
I'm not so sure. I think curiosity and a bit of influence was there because I was academically well equipped. But the innovating and coming up with new ideas has been something which I was influenced by many of the mentors whom I was reporting to in the early stage of my career. I didn't realize that I had that capacity to combine ideas from several forum, connect the dots and come up with something different. So that was not something which I knew I had. That was something which was probably spotted and kindled by my colleagues and many of my senior mentors.
And influencing people?
Quite a few. Well, I think one of the strongest influence that I've had is Rajni, whom you know very well. Okay, Rajni has been a huge influence. I think every time I thought I was God's given to mankind, God's gift to mankind, she said that, yeah, but not to my kind. Okay, and I think that has a huge salutary effect on bringing down. I think she has been a huge influence in bringing me to ground on many occasions. Uh, there have been many others. My influences has been with almost all those, many whom I have reported to, and many colleagues who worked with me. I think you always pick something that a person is doing very well. And so I would say that I have inspiring role models all around me. Yeah,
So, but curiosity, you said, is one way you describe yourself from your childhood itself.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That has always been there.
yeah,
So,
that's been
has
there
it?
from the beginning. Yeah, it's been there. Uh, I think I do recollect even when I was 4 or 5, I was always inquisitive about things. In fact, one of the challenges that I always had in those days, maybe, is I was not allowed to participate in the conversation when the elders were around. But I used to sit on the periphery and listen to them and occasionally butt in with my ideas and then be routinely reprimanded. So I think curiosity and inquisitiveness has been always there. Yeah.
But has this curiosity and inquisitiveness ever made your childhood unsafe?
I don't know. I can tell you that my childhood was fairly safe, but I in the school that we studied, uh, we knew who are all the teachers we have to avoid. So we had a very clear understanding amongst the children. When I was even as young as 8 or 9 or 10, we had a clear idea that this particular teacher, you must avoid getting into close proximity with them or being alone with them. So I would say that, bringing this conversation to the current topic, I think the air was rife with abuse even in my childhood. While I haven't directly experienced it, but there has been many occasions where one felt, that there is a potential abuse of what now we call it as abuse of power and authority. But this was always in the air, and we used to say, "Look, avoid this particular teacher, this PT master. Don't go near him. He'll make you do certain things which are not acceptable." And I'm luckily, psychologically or emotionally, I have not had the impact, but I can well imagine, and I'd probably go back and look at some of the childhood friends that I've had who we thought were behaving somewhat oddly. It's very possible that they've been subject to some kind of physical or emotional abuse. I don't know. But I think it's far more widely prevalent than we give credit to in our society. No, I think it's physical, and I think increasingly the emotions play a very critical role in, especially in the early stage of development. I think it's very well known that while nature endows you with certain talent and things, for that to come out, you need emotional support. And I think it's both the physical support and the emotional support, and to be able to express yourself, especially in our society, which is still where there is authority and hierarchy, and to a large extent patriarchal. Uh, the the need for a child or children to come out and speak is very important. So that means both you need to give them an opportunity, which is a physically a safe space, and emotionally also being able to give them comfort that they can actually speak out. At the least, almost everyone born in the world must have equal opportunities, and that's really the uh, core of this. Equal is equal opportunity. But increasingly, the debate is going on: are all opportunities equal? just stating that equal opportunity may not be good enough, and especially when we talk about gender. I think we can, all of us in our companies, say that there is a meritocracy. What we mean by meritocracy is everybody has the same opportunity. Whoever applies for a job, that person should be given the right opportunity in a fair, objective way. But that's a very serious fallacy in that, because quite often women, especially girls, do not have the same kind of nurturing environment to develop their, particularly in scientific temper and leadership qualities by families, because that's the way the social milieu is. It's not just in India. I think it's in US, it's in any advanced country also. Women are still not in large number in the STEM field. So given this, probably for a period of time, we have to just say that in some areas, we must first look for women and then men as next choices. Even though the immediate reaction to something is, yes, I think I'm entitled to it because I have done so much for this. I have gone for the best educational institutions. I have come out stronger. I have been academically at the highest levels. Blah 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 blah. We can list all what it is, but I think all that we are entitled to is, just as everyone who's born in this world, to a fair, just, equitable world, which gives you the right opportunities and sometimes corrects for the imbalances in the opportunities that each of us have had. I can guess, I think probably 95% of it is not reported. I'm not even, the number may be even higher. Elders in the home or also could be potential possible problems for child abuse. While I think much of the abuse is possibly the girl is the receiving end of much of the abuse. I think equally, because I studied in a boys' school, and equally, it's boys may not be at the same ratio, but boys. I think these are extreme cases and may deter a few. What we probably need is how do we change? Firstly, how do we state that it's not the child's problem? Quite often, the way I think the dialogue will go in a typical home is, you invited, if it is a girl, you invited this trouble by whatever X, Y, Z, you should not have done that. Kind of a thing. I think we have to first give a space, safe space for expressing their points of view, assure them of confidentiality and action. I think that is one at the micro level, at the family level. So I have a feeling we have to really, first case, we have to target families to say, look, this is a serious problem. It's not child's fault. It's really the family, educational, and the social condition that lead to this. So you have to allow the child to speak up and protect the child during this period. In cases where it is warranted, take legal action. That is one. That is training them so that this is a much serious problem. Don't ignore it. Okay. I think this is number one. The number two is, I think schools are a fairly uh, serious place where there is a highest level of asymmetry in power. A school teacher, especially when you are 8 or 9 or 10, has virtually absolute authority over you in that time period. So that position of authority, I think we have to strongly sensitize the schools and the teachers about that, what is an acceptable line that you can never cross. Okay, and so that this is another important thing. I think schools are going to be extremely important places where we may have to do a lot more than what we are doing today. I think a child gets cut by 1,000 cuts. Every inappropriate touch is inflicting an emotional or a physical damage on the psyche. So I think it's, I hope that the law has ways of dealing with that. It's very difficult to
Yeah.
probably prove. So I would tend to think that a child is abused in 1,000 ways, and the extreme form of that could be rape, which can have untold consequences. But we need to really look at this not as 0 or 1. Yeah, I think that'll be quite sad.
Say, let's talk of exhibitionism, exposing the child to some nude pictures, pornography. Would that come under child sexual abuse?
I would tend to think so. It depends on, see, for instance, if, see, you have to see, it's very clear. If you have a child who's, say, 8 to 12, or even older, let's say 8 to 12, where their sexual activity is still not fully formed and they don't know what is right and right acceptable one. If there is an elder, be it in the school or in the family, if they are showing a sexually explicit thing, I would simply think that that's a very clear intent uh, to to get entice the child into compromising itself and possibly leading to sexual abuse. So I would tend to think that that's a that's almost halfway to the final crime. So it's going to be that's what I would say. I think if any elder is showing, for that matter, even I mean teenagers but older than the child,
Yeah.
I think it's quite serious. I think we should take that. We should not view it as it has not led to something. The consequences does not matter, but the intent is very clear.
So, would you put making sexual jokes with a child or ogling a child? Would you put that also as a form of sexual
Uh,
abuse for the
I
child?
think so. I would tend to think so. Uh, uh, I think any of these inappropriate behaviors, either exposing the child deliberately to an inappropriate sexual action, or discussions and dialogues with double entendre or double meaning, all of that constitute that you have a very clear intent to you know,
Exploit the child.
exploit a child. And you have the position of authority to do so, so that makes it doubly culpable. So I would tend to think that any of these things we have to put it down. And I think the important role is for other elders in that community, whether it's teachers or other elders in the family, have to be able to spot such behavior from their fellow relatives or fellow teachers and put a quick end to it, saying that, look, you get into any one of this, you're going to be in serious trouble. Okay? At the least, losing the job or losing access. At the best, legal punishment. I'm not an expert on that, but I would tend to think that if you find the child's energy and enthusiasm is suddenly waning, you find a very naturally exuberant and bubbly child is now suddenly withdrawn or sullen or or is expressing some, especially if they are 6 or 7, expressing some actions which they think is okay. I think you will be able to spot it. I think the families will be able to spot it. Usually, the brothers or sisters will be able to spot this very quickly. But the thing is, I think they sense it. But what they do after that is important. So withdrawal, loss of energy, enthusiasm, and exuberance, All of that will constitute some signs which have to be very carefully probed. You can't presume something is happening, but you have to still probe that. Okay, so uh, I don't know the statistics.
Mhm.
I personally believe if it is detected reasonably early before uh, we have, firstly, there is also if the child has gone through repeated sexual abuse
Mhm.
over a long period of time, I
Mhm.
think that would have a permanent impact on the emotional and behavioral aspects of the child, even as the child grows into a man. It's possible that that the man who's been abused may behave in ways, and it may have some kind of a sociopathy or all of those things. But
Mhm.
my belief is, if it is detected early by the family and sensible actions taken, we can minimize the psychological damage. I'm just giving you, but if you
Mhm.
find that a child is repeatedly abused and has gone through bad experiences, we really have to provide a psychological space with good counseling for the child to recognize that it's not her or his fault. At that, uh, and that it can come out of this bad experience.
Mhm.
Most parents will shy away from that. That is almost improbable. The fact that they don't even want to confront, it's very low probability. I'm saying statistically, maybe there is one parent in 100 who may go to that stage, but
Mhm.
vast majority of the people will suffer this issue. That's the feeling I have. I don't have statistics, but that's how I would.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's what I think is the society's reaction. Correct. So the anonymity will make a very big difference. We just
Mhm.
have to be careful that this is not abused. What I'm saying is, we don't want to victimize somebody using this methodology, but
Mhm.
anonymity will be widely respected. So for me, my smart action would be, I have something like 6,500 employees working in our group, in Saint-Gobain group.
Mhm. Mhm.
And a smart action would be to get someone like Sakshi to conduct a series of programs highlighting, especially most of those who are below 45, who have
Mhm.
children of certain age, teenagers or small kids. I think sensitize them on this particular relevant topic and tell them, take specific steps and say, look, this is a menace to this in the society. We are not paying attention to it. Just like we talk about gender diversity, awareness, and many
Mhm.
other socially relevant issues, I will do that.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm a Rakshin, and I do hope that using my position in the company, that I'll be able to change or cause changes to happen by reaching out to our employees on this very important topic.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, thank you very much for joining us in this session. And I would like to thank you formally for our viewers. This is a project undertaken by Sakshi, the Rakshin project, in partnership with the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, where we are trying to skill build youth between 18 to 22 years to recognize, identify, address, de escalate, report, and resolve child sexual abuse within the families and in the communities. And we are doing this in a hope to make the world free of child sexual abuse. And the reason why we need to conduct this campaign is to give visibility to the fact that more than 90% of the abuse takes place within the trusted circles. And still, it is not reported. So, what can the law do if the crime is not reported? And with your voice, we hope to amplify our work in trying to make everybody see why child sexual abuse is not reported and what to do when it's not reported. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm sure that after listening to you, as well as seeing many of the campaigns that Sakshi is part of, more and more leaders will join this particular campaign to get rid of the sexual and child abuse that is widely prevalent in the society. Okay,
I
best
hope so.
wishes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.